Alright, here we go. So I got my legendary Fisherman deck here. Basically, it's just a Mako Tsunami deck with the reprints. So these aren't the original cards that Mako Tsunami kind of used. I think Konami knew that they needed to make like better cards that could compete in today's meta deck. I mean, especially since all the original Mako Tsunami cards were pretty much normal monsters. And then they just use cards like Umi as a way to make those cards like really powerful. So then they start releasing like ocean support, like Umi support, using like sea stealth attack to give them the anime like effects. Because all the original cards, like the original Jellyfish was actually a normal monster called Jellyfish. The original Karyushin card was just Karyushin and not Ocean Dragon Lord Karyushin. The original card for this one, I believe, was just Citadel Whale, which actually is not too bad of a card. They actually released it in the deck. The original Legendary Fisherman was just Legendary Fisherman 1. There are a couple other cards too, like I know the Shark support that they released was just the Great White, and um, the Doom Kraken was just originally Fiend Kraken, which it appears on one of these cards art, and I have Doom Kraken in the deck, but it doesn't actually appear in this gameplay. So my main play style here is just to set up the board. That's the first step for my floodgate, and then board setup, which is the electric jellyfish. Playstyle 2 is to actually get, or step 2 is to get Mega Fortress Well out onto the field, which would allow me to attack directly right here. And then step 3 would be what sets up my legendary fisherman. But my opponent wasn't able to actually stay in the match long enough for me to actually start bringing out legendary fisherman. So I'll kind of go into the deck list right here so you can kind of see why I say that I could even bring Legendary Fisherman 3 out. Now, most players don't even put Legendary Fisherman, so they only really do 2 steps of that. Some people don't even really do that. They just basically just set up just a way to attack for game or just a floodgate and just chip their opponent out over time. But basically, this deck does a lot of searching. So, Mega Fortress Well, because I brought him onto the field, my goal was to link him off and then bring him back on the next turn in the battle phase through Sea Stealth attack for the battle phase only. And then once the battle phase ended, it would have gotten destroyed and brought out Legendary Fisherman 2. Once Legendary Fisherman 2 leaves the field, it gets destroyed in some kind of way. Then that would allow me to add Legendary Fisherman 3. Then once I go into the battle phase again, bring Mega Fortress Well back out during the battle phase from the graveyard. That would allow me to, once the battle phase exits, to actually bring out another Fisherman, whether that's from the graveyard or from my deck. I can then bring Legendary Fisherman 2 back out onto the field and then go into Legendary Fisherman 3 from there because I would have one in my hand. Now, that sounds like a lot, but it's a lot simpler than what I just made it seem. But down the line through grind game, that's how you can get him onto the field. There's another way of getting him onto the field through Ice Barrier, which in my case, I actually used Ice Barrier to search Mega Fortress Well. Um, you could also run more Ice Barriers, and you could also run more. Where's the card at? It's up here somewhere. Foolish Burial Goods, which I was doing, but I took out some of those cards to run more Warrior of Atlantis. So I actually had no Warrior of Atlantis in here. I ran 3 Foolish Burial Goods, 3 um, Ice Barriers, and then I also ran 3 Legendary Fisherman 3s, which made it more than a 40 card deck. But to bring this down to a 40 card deck, I just took those out and added a few different cards in here to make it just flow a little better. Limited the amount of Sea Stealth attacks that I have because Sea Stealth attack doesn't really leave the field that often and it's really searchable. You can search it with this card here. This is one of the main searchers in the deck. Um, and also using Fish Sonar. Fish Sonar can be a good way to search your water monsters that you need. Um, Karyushin's Dark Reef is a good way to search monsters. And I know that all of these cards are centered around having Umi on the field. Legendary Ocean basically is Umi, so having Umi on the field was a little bit more important for me than actually just getting to Legendary Fisherman through Ice Barrier or some of the other plays like trying to search stuff. Like having that access to that Omni Negate, like as soon as the match starts, was a little bit more important, which is why I ran more cards to actually get Umi out as soon as possible. But anyway, so this is pretty much the deck list here, and got a few extra deck cards here just to support a way to deal with Crooked Cook through Underworld Goddess, a way to just OTK with the Access Code Talker, 4 monster negates if I need to, because this deck can basically just pile the field up with monsters very, very, very easily, especially once you use Karyushin's Dark Reef. You'll sometimes have too many monsters on the field. You can just link some of those off into Apollosa and then bring some of them right back onto the field. And then Nightmare Unicorn, non-destruction removal, which is pretty good to have. Omni Negate, and then Bahamut Shark can pretty much come out really easily. We run a lot of level 4s in this deck, so almost all of this whole top row is all level 4s except for this card here. But once Umi is on the field or Legendary Ocean, it'll actually knock the level down from 5 to 4. So the only 2 cards that can really make it is the original Legendary Fisherman and Giga Gaga Go, or whatever this card is called. Those 2 cards can basically make Bahamut Shark, which pretty common to have these 2 out once a Legendary Ocean actually hits the field. So yeah, so that's the deck list. So hopefully you guys like it.